Hi guys, welcome to episode 2 of Not a Car podcast with Donna and Aaron. And today we've got a very special guest on with us. He is a former club and county All-Ireland winning captain, Mr. Darran O'Sullivan. Darran, thank you for joining us. How are you keeping?
Thanks, Donna. They'll disown you in Glenbeigh, Glencar. Do not call me a former club player. I'm trying to retire. I've been told I can't until I'm 40, so you want to watch it there.
Is the body still holding up? It is.
Do you know what? The body's actually, since I retired from the county game and I focused more on my own training, the body's never been better. It's weird.
It's just probably an overload with the county, you know?
Yeah, I think county's probably, maybe it's catching up now, but when I was playing, it was kind of one size fits all. And I suppose with the injuries I'd had throughout my career, that one size fits all just didn't fit me. Yeah. And it just didn't suit. But since that, I've been lucky enough. I haven't been injured at all, so long may that continue. And
in terms of training, are you kind of doing more strength training? Are you kind of doing stuff that you would have been doing inside in the county training, or are you kind of focusing more on prehab as opposed to rehab?
Really training harder more often, but like that, it's kind of more designed to me. I suppose over the years, I'm no expert on it, but my own body, and I know what suits me and what I can recover quickly from. Do a good bit of strength probably twice a week, but I love the Tabata sessions. 40-50 minutes where you're flat to the mat, 20 seconds on, 20 off, 10 exercises, 5 rounds of it. And for me, it's kind of very match-like. Yeah, and you get a sweat up. It's aerobic, it's strength, it's everything. I enjoy it. I know there's some fitness experts out there that I know, and they're like, "Oh, don't mind that Tabata." But for me, like, I'm always ready to go football-wise because that's my game. You go flat out for 20 seconds, you might get 10, 20 seconds to recover and you're gone again. So, look, whatever I'm doing anyway, it seems to be suiting me at the moment, so I keep it going.
Good. And how are you looking this year with Glenbeigh Glencar? It's a very youthful team.
Yeah, it is a fright when you're 15 years older than fellas. Do you know what? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'll probably go back training tonight. They went back Tuesday and Thursday. I didn't make it for them too, but like that, I think this year is a bit unknown how fellas are going to cope after 6 months of no team action and, even trying to get used to the twisting and turning. I'm dreading the body tomorrow. Really? I suppose most of the training I've done, there's been no twisting and turning, so the unpredictable movements of field sports will definitely test my old body.
Yeah. Right. Well, good introduction there, Darran. So we're going to kick it off. Every guest, we have kind of 3 main questions we're going to ask them, and I'm going to pass you over to Aaron here now, and he's going to ask you the 3 questions.
This is normally a funny one, funny. But what was your first car? Hope it's a good one.
It's actually not that funny, but my father had a Nissan Darran, a lovely Jeep, and that was obviously what I learned to drive in, and it's what I did my driving test in. I always remember I got my first driving lesson, the morning of the test. And it was 2 hours long. I was wearing it. I think it was an away Portugal jersey. I remember sweating like a bull in it. And when I went into the driving test and introduced myself and I came out, there was like a Fiat Punto outside and then this big whopper Jeep. So man went to get into the Fiat Punto and I was like, no, that's me behind. Got a bit of a fright then, but it would have been my father's Jeep. But my first car then was a Focus. So that kind of got me a bit lower to the ground, a bit easier to manage than the big. I think the Toronto was like a 2.7 litre, so it was a bit powerful from the first car. But my first official car was a Ford Focus, so not that funny. But I felt slick enough going up and down to college in Cork.
You see, nowadays a lot of sports teams get sponsor cars, but was there much sponsor cars? I wouldn't say back then when you were playing, but like 20 years ago.
Back in the day.
do you know what? When I came in, there was probably more sponsored cars. But like obviously the Kerry Team that I came into had a lot of really established players, and they were already, if they weren't legends, never knew they were on the verge of becoming a legend. So when I came in, I was 6 years on the panel before I got a car, and it was a Toyota. And I don't know if you know that.
Was this?
No, I got an Avensis first, fine car, and then yeah, it was grand, it was perfect or whatever. And then
the nice one here actually.
You're always selling. But they gave me a GT86.
I remember that. It was class.
It was it was a weapon, but you couldn't go for a drive around town more than once because everyone would see you. So I couldn't really do it. And I had to give it back after 2 weeks because I'm not a big man, but I was crippled getting in and out of it, and my hamstrings were killing me. So I had to give it back, and I remember them giving me an Auris after, and I was just depressed.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be driving an Auris, which is only slightly better than a Yaris. But yeah, so I had that for a couple of years. But sure, you can't complain, you're getting a free vehicle. But the GT86 now was a bit of a weapon, but the body just couldn't take it. I was crippled after it.
Yeah, I see from Instagram. I see Galvin is still getting car sponsors. Is he?
Yeah, I think that's it. When the profile keeps going up, like there's only certain few fellas now that are, they're a GA player as well as something else, and there's a few GA players now that can still command that. I thought, I don't want the word I'm trying to look for here, status, or they have that celebrity status outside of being a footballer, and they're known for something else. So Paul obviously suits the Audi brand as well. He's a cool guy. He always has cool cars, which is depressing too.
Yeah, and dream car. This is kind of a tricky one. I find it hard to pick my dream car, but what would be yours?
Yeah, I'd be the same. We're on about Audis. I've always really liked the Audis. It could be any one of them, the 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, or 7. But I've always had a thing for Land Rovers as well. Just like the Jeeps, but obviously, I suppose it's a bit like the GA, it's horses for courses. I'd like to have a different car for different days of the week. Maybe a weekend car for strolling around, and maybe something nippier. Maybe an Audi for getting around the place fast, and maybe a Land Rover then the weekends when I want to relax a bit.
Any funny driving or car stories? I promise this is the last car question.
Yeah, what year was it? I remember kind of when I was learning to drive, like my sister's car used to be outside the house, and I sneaked the keys, and all I was doing was reversing in and out and round. And one of the days I pressed the wrong pedal, and I crashed into the house. I think it was her own bedroom as well. The window sill used to come out, so I drove the side of the car all along it. And of course, I don't know, 15 or 16, I panicked. I was like, Jesus, what do I do? So I got out and I pushed it back into place and just put the keys back to where I found them and tried to ignore it. But
does she know that?
They know it. Like there was no one else to blame in the house. It was like, did you do this? Not me. No. But who does it? I hadn't really thought out my plan of getting out of it, so that caught me. But other than that, I've been fairly lucky. No major events, which is good, I suppose.
Good. Right, that's the end of all the car questions anyway. Thanks for that, Darran. So, look, kind of just a bit about yourself and kind of, your background and everything like that. So, look, there would be a lot of people around the country who would look up to you as like one of the GA icons in the last couple of years. And I suppose what our listeners would like to know is kind of who would have been your biggest influence growing up. Like, who would you kind of look up to?
Yeah. It's like, obviously I grew up in London until I was 12, so my main game would have been soccer until I moved home. And when I was in London, I was on the books at QPR, and we used to train. So it's funny when I came back and obviously got into the Kerry development squad and all that crack. I was kind of used to the structured training, but growing up, my idols were all United players. There were Giggs, there were Beckham, there were Keane, Cantona, and fellas like that. And I suppose when I moved back, and obviously I knew about GA because I'd been playing with a club in London, Tir Chonaill Gaels, the GAA Club. We'd won London championships. We'd have won in all Britain under 12s or 13s or something. And when I came back, obviously I knew about Gaelic football. Obviously I knew about Kerry. I actually assumed that they were professional as well. And I remember knowing about the Hassets, John Sheehan and Mike Frank in Cloglan, which is 5 minutes in the road or whatever, and just thinking, oh my God, these superstars are in the town next door, and you used to see them walking around. So things like that were always a big thing. I remember meeting Maurice Fitzgerald for the first time, and one of the first things he said to me was, do you kick with both feet? And I was just going, And I thought, right. And I just threw an answer of not at the same time, thinking, this is gas. And Dad just threw me a look as if to say, you're some clown. Which you cop on. But yeah, like that, when I moved back, I assumed the GAA players were like soccer players. I assumed they were professional. So knowing that there was such names living so close to me was a big thing at the time. And I suppose I started to learn then the hard way that unfortunately the GAA boys weren't treated exactly the same as the soccer boys in England.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, look, that was kind of, that leads on to the next question. Like, coming from a soccer background, do you ever wonder what could have been if you were still in?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, you would. I suppose not now. I don't. But obviously, when I was younger and I was growing up, I suppose, you know, I was 12 or whatever, and like you're always thinking, like, get to kind of. It's funny, even at a young age, you think about life in stages. Get to 14, 15, and that's when you'll be getting ready to really put down your mark and get a professional contract when you're 16, 17. So, like most young lads, the dream is to play soccer professionally. And like, I was in the door at QPR, I was doing okay. Like, and initially you'd be thinking another 5 or 6 years now, I'd be looking for a transfer up to Man United, my favourite team. And you were seeing all these sport players coming in with their sports cars and their supermodel girlfriends and their girl band girlfriends and all this stuff. And like, you get carried away. But like, I suppose as I get older, like, well, actually, when I moved back to Ireland, back to Glenbeigh, my interest just changed totally. My interest in soccer kind of just waned straight away. It was all about football for me. But you realise as you get older and get more mature, it's just such a hard profession. It's so cutthroat. Even the fellas who go over from Ireland at 16, 17, 18, when you're becoming a man, it's very easy to just cut the legs from underneath you, and you're back home, and I suppose your ego is dented, and you can imagine a lot of them are a bit embarrassed. They're not really embarrassed about, but
pick yourself up,
I suppose
really.
they go over. Yeah, it's both setting yourself up for, not setting yourself up for failure, but being ready for things if they don't go right. And I think it's something that the professional game needs to look at more. That players, because I suppose you train for a few hours and then you're gone for the rest of the day. So it should be a case that they have to do some sort of course while they're doing it, because it's the most cutthroat profession in the world, and it's such a small percentage of players that actually make it. So I suppose when you're younger, you do start thinking, "Geez, I'm on the verge of this or that or whatever." But the likelihood of when you get older is the chances of it actually happening are slim. No, that's not to say it won't happen. It's obviously going to happen for some people, but I do think soccer clubs and professional outfits need to start looking more at preparing players, because one injury or one bad run of form and that dream is whisked away from you straight away.
That's a good point. I don't think there's anything there. Well, I'm not in a profession setup, so I don't really know. But like, I think that's a great point especially for young lads, you know, because that's a lot of weight on your shoulders to be dealing with.
Well, to back it up, there's 3 guys in Tip, I won't name them now, but they were on trial at Middlesbrough, Celtic and Villa when they were like 16, 17, and when it didn't work out, they just stopped playing.
Just completely everything.
That's it.
Wow.
You'll know one of them.
I think a lot of them, they lose the love for the game as well. I think when you go over that young and it's so professional and the enjoyment goes, because I suppose that's when the pressure comes on and stuff. I know a few lads who've gone over to Australia, obviously playing Aussie rules, it's not as big as soccer, but they've come back with degrees anyway. You know, they've come back with a qualification, whether they've kicked on and made it to the actual AFL or not. They've come back with something that they're prepared for life outside of sport, which is a good thing. They're obviously not as big as soccer, rugby. Even the rugby boys now, I think, are a lot more clued in to life after rugby. You see a lot of the Leinster and the Munster guys there. They're preparing for life after sport. A lot of them are doing college courses during their career, which is brilliant, because especially rugby, I suppose you're one bad tackle or a bad hit away from being finished. So like that, I do think it's something that the soccer should be looking at, considering all the money that's in it. But like you said, the young lads go over and you think, this is it, this is what I wanted, and you get over there and it's not all rosy and it's not everything you thought it would be.
Yeah, most like best sporting moment. What stands out the best? Yeah,
It has to be the All Ireland 2009 captain in Kerry. It was obviously, I suppose, like it's most young lads' dreams to play for Kerry, to win All Ireland and get the opportunity. Like I'm from a small club. When I started playing the senior football, we were Division 5 novice. We had no Kerry seniors in I don't know how many years. So the chance of me really playing for Kerry wasn't very high, and definitely the chance of me captain and Kerry weren't exactly on the radar. So the opportunity to do that and be part of a very small, special group of players that got to captain to an All Ireland has to be up there. But obviously winning the All Ireland junior title with the club, and Donagh was part of that as well, and he'll know exactly what it was like, with a small club. But the buzz around the place leading up to that was unreal, and it was a different feeling going into a Crow Park, and right, it's not 80,000, but you nearly know every face in the stand. So that was obviously a special moment as well.
yeah. Any inter-county footballer or hurler who wins with their club finds it hard to pick which one's the best club or county. Like, both mean a lot. Like,
Yeah, and like I suppose it's funny. My favorite competition is always the Mid Kerry Championship. It's like just the Mid Kerry area, 5 or 6 teams, and
So
we won that. It's weird. Like if I told that to people outside, they'd be like, "Sure, who cares?" But we won it in 2011, and I'll never forget it. Like it was amazing. We had the beer for a week after, but there was fellas on the pitch, grown men crying. I think it was 36 years, 37 years. I can't remember now.
wow.
That we'd gone without winning it, and you're thinking a small competition or whatever. Like, so it's always like every year. Like you look at the county competitions, the county championship or the junior intermediate or whatever. But my favourite is the Mid Kerry Championship. It's one that means the most to me always. And so the older generation, the club would probably get it, but a lot of the younger generation probably wouldn't, because we've won 3 or 4 of them in the last 8 or 9 years. So they probably think, it's not that hard to win. But obviously, I come into the team, and like a lot of the fellas on it, their fathers would have played in the team for 15 years and never got close to winning it. But like that's one now I'd be aiming to try and win 1 or 2 more times before I do retire.
Nice. So we were chatting about the All Ireland there, and the clubs, and like obviously going into an All Ireland match day, the morning of, something special. Was there anything different when you were captain that you would have done as opposed to if you weren't captain and you were still lining out? And what was that like?
No, I think the build up. In fairness to Jack, like when I was captain, I was 22 when I got named captain. Like, so I was young, I was immature, and I had legends all around me. Like, so it wasn't like he was there going, "You need to lead these boys by example." It was a case of go out, play your game. If you want to speak, speak. And I rarely did. I probably became more vocal as I got older. I was very much just let me do my thing on the field, and that'll be my style of leading by example. No, I have become more vocal as I got older. Obviously, that comes with confidence and being more secure in your place on the team and stuff like that. But it's one of the things, even though it's great to be captain, I was lucky, and we were fortunate enough that year we won the All Ireland. I would have loved to have got it when I was older, and I was more mature, and I knew what was going on. I was more confident and secure in my own self. But going build up to games, I was grand. Like I was at that stage, I was rooming with Cullen, with Gooch, and we would have lived literally a row behind each other in Clarny. So we were together all the time, on and off the field. So we'd have our usual routine. We'd stay in Dunboyne, and wherever we were staying, we'd walk to the shop the night before, after the meetings and stuff. You get a pack of jellies and an ice cream. You'd be watching Match of the Day, maybe a bit of X Factor and Match of the Day. The only thing I did differently was the morning, we'd always get up for breakfast, back to bed, and you'd be kind of fluting around a bit, but I actually started writing down my speech. And I remember him asking me, going, "What are you at?" And I went, "No, I'm just scribbling."
Yeah.
And I just said that, and I gave it to the chairman then a bit later on, just in case. But other than that, no, I was okay. I used the same thing, got on the bus from the hotel to Crow Park. I fell asleep, as I always do. don't know how that is, but I used to just, Donnie used to give out to me the odd time. He goes, well, at the start, I used to be 3 seats from the back on the right hand side, and he used to be the one directly behind me. And he'd give me a clip in the back of the head, and he was like, "Would you wake up and tune in?" And I was there going, "Oh, we've plenty of time. I'll tune in when I get there. Just go away." And I doze after. It was only 15, 20 minutes power nap. And whatever it was about the bus ride from the hotel to Croke Park, always throw on the headphones, close the eyes, and I just doze off. So no, I was lucky enough that it never really affected me a whole pile like that. I didn't really suffer from nerves. I think actually as I got older and I expected more from myself, I probably overthought games a bit more. But when I was that age, it was literally, you're going up playing football, you're good at football, that's why you're here. Just go out and play. But I think as I get older, you'd see it with some fellas, well, when they're younger, they're a bit more carefree, and when they get a bit older, and people expect more of them and they expect more from themselves, that's when you can overthink it. And I probably did that a bit as I got older in my latter years.
And tell me this, was it a tactical move to bring you off a couple of minutes early in the All-Ireland so that you could rehearse your couple of buckles before lifting?
No, I don't think so. No, they didn't tell me about that, but I think it was a case, like our squad was so strong. You always had fellas coming off, but we obviously had so many unbelievable players. There was certain players that were never going to come off. So that was just the way it was. But it was probably a lucky thing. I remember sitting with I was actually sitting beside Tir Chonaill, and he actually asked me how was your Irish, and I obviously living in London till I was 12 didn't do Irish, so I was there going, oh geez, I don't know. And he goes, say it to me there. So I went through it, and he was like, all right, you're good, you're fine. And we won the All-Ireland anyway. And I remember being around the place, and Mark Shea goes to me, I'll stay beside you, and if you forget anyone or anything, I'll prompt you, or if you're Irish or whatever. And because I was thinking, in the heat of it, like, you could easily get addled. And I said, if I lost my train of thought through the Irish, I was gone. Like, it wasn't like I knew what I was saying, really. Yeah. And I remember just thinking, all right, sound man. And then when I stood up, I was like, there's no way I'm trusting Mark to nudge me. He could have me saying anything, and I'm done for life. Like, so I luckily got through it. I had the speech in front of me. Yeah. I didn't really have to look at it at all. I suppose it just kind of rolled off, I suppose. But I was more nervous doing the speech than I was playing the match.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Jeez, I really, like, back then as well, like, obviously I wouldn't have been as maybe comfortable or confident as I got when I got older and got more experience with these things. But I definitely wasn't used to speaking in front of 80,000 people. But it just, public speaking, when I was going through school and even when I went to college and stuff like that, it just wasn't really me. Got better at it, to be honest. I think the less I prepare now, the better I am at it. But yeah, at that time, I remember just the nerves. I was going to give me an All-Ireland final to play football any day over this.
And would I be right in saying there was someone else in your household had an All-Ireland medal before you did?
We don't talk about that. No, my sister played in Croke Park before I did. She likes to rub that in. She played in the primary game. Yeah. So yeah, she likes to
got there before you.
Yeah, and for a long time, Dad used to have one over me that he had more me Kerry Championship medals than me, but thankfully I've corrected that over the last couple of years.
Right, Darran, question: who was one of the toughest players you've ever played against?
Toughest players I would have played against, to be honest, any of the Mayo defenders. Like you look at Lee Keegan there, Keith Higgins, just really tough guys who were good defenders. Obviously from Kerry, Patrick Reedy was a nightmare for me. We would have grown up coming through all the ranks together. We were minors together, came into the senior panel straight from minors together and spent a lot of time together. We had a room together the first couple of years. Kerry, he knew my game inside out. And somebody that I only saw recently, and I hadn't never mentioned him, but underage, Kieran Crowley from Long Rangers. He'd be a cousin of Peter Crowley. And whatever it was about him, underage, and he never really got a look in with Kerry teams, but he was a serious defender. And I don't know, was it a mental thing when I was younger? I used to hate marking him. Yeah. But yeah.
Nice.
Who's the best player you played with?
Gooch.
Yeah.
Gooch was unbelievable. Declan, like, you could name out different players for different things, but Gooch was just like different to everyone. Like, people are about different fellas now with stats and top scorers, this and blah blah whatever. Like, but Gooch, if Gooch was more selfish and he shot all the time there was a shot on, he would have kicked the lights out every game. But Gooch would see a pass that nobody else saw, or he'd know a pass was coming 3 plays down the line. You know, his brain was so far ahead of everyone else. So even if you take away his skills and everything he could do with the ball, just his speed of thought, his brain for football was just different level. And obviously Declan then wouldn't be far behind. Like, Declan was just incredible as well.
And biggest messer in the dressing room?
Mark O'Shea and Fionn Fitzgerald. I couldn't trust them. I roomed with Mark for the last couple of years of his career, and the crack we used to have the night and the morning of games, it was unreal. We'd be up and down the halls making noises and then come back in hiding. The players would be coming out of their rooms looking, what's that? What's going on? Like, but always messing. Fionn as well, you couldn't trust a word that comes out of his mouth. He was always a very intelligent guy, but just when he got into that mood, there was no stopping him. You just couldn't trust him.
Yeah, so look, I suppose, Darran, that's kind of really a good deep dive into kind of you and your background in football and everything like that. And look, I know you're looking after Ross Point there in Glenbeigh.
Yeah.
I suppose first question is, how's it been since lockdown?
How's it been since lockdown? Quiet. Nobody there. To be honest, like last year when we opened, we couldn't complain. Like, the whole world wanted to come to Kerry, I think, and it was tough going. But like we're lucky enough. Look, we're obviously very seasoned, but we've good staff there, and it seems to be fairly continuous. The same staff every year, and it's great. We have a good old team there, so it was great last year. You'd be nervous enough about opening this year because you're going to go from 0 to 100 very quickly. The hospitality sector, we still don't know the rules and regulations that we'll have to abide by, but looking forward to getting open and getting back into the swing of things. I always find that things are easier when you're open because you can adjust as you go, whereas at the moment you're kind of trying to plan for stuff that you just don't know what situation you're going to be in. So hopefully the next couple of weeks we'll start operating in some capacity, and before you know it, we'll be open fully and we'll be welcoming everyone in.
Yeah, look, I suppose obviously kind of living in Glenbeigh, and I can imagine that you're probably going to have a very busy couple of months when you do decide to open, because from what I hear, it's impossible to get any sort of accommodation.
Yeah,
Kerry, full stop.
Kerry, I'd say in general, like so look, that's the thing I keep telling myself. When you do open, you're going to be busy, but it's going to be a short season. You'll get July and August are the months that are planned for indoor dining, so they're going to be bonkers. But the way this government is, you wouldn't know. Could be June. They seem to change their mind and rechange it and whatever. So, like, realistically, you could have 3 very busy months. You might have 2. So the way I'm breaking it down for myself is, you could be flat out for 12 weeks and then it's going to die down again. So it is what it is. You just kind of have to go with it now at this stage. But hopefully, this is the last of it. Once we're all open, we'll all be open, and hopefully COVID will be a distant memory soon enough. Yeah.
And for anyone listening, we're going to tag Darran's Pub and Restaurant, Ross Point, which is based in Rossbeigh, Glenbeigh, County Kerry. We're going to tag it on our video and our social channels if you want to go and check it out. And also, look, I think kind of from the two of us, I think you've kind of given us such a really good insight into kind of where you started, where you finished, and there's still a lot more there on the plate for you. And yeah, look, we just want to wish you all the best with everything in the club, all the reopening with Ross Point and everything like that. And I know I'll be back for a couple of pints when it opens.
Yeah, I might, especially by myself.
Well, Donna gets the friends and family discount where he has to pay double.
Yeah, but no, honestly, look, Darran, it's much appreciated you coming on. What a way to kind of kickstart our podcast here is to have someone with your caliber coming on, and we really do appreciate it. And look, I think anyone kind of listening is going to get a great insight of what it's been like for a Kerry footballer, not only to play in Croke Park, but to captain a team in Croke Park. And kind of what I've taken away is, how does an All-Ireland captain go for a snooze on the bus between Meath and Dublin? That's something special.
That's a very relaxed guy.
Yeah, that's the way to be. Stress will only kill you, won't it?
That's it, sure. Pressures for bouncy castles.
Yeah.
No, thanks for having me on, lads. Pleasure, and I'll be up soon to get my discounted vehicle. Don't worry, I'll catch you yet.
Right. Thanks everyone for listening, and look, for myself and Aaron here and Darran, obviously, thanks very much for joining us, and look forward to catching up on episode 2.
Thanks, Darran.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Darran.